strive for greatness. We are fueled by passion. We are a team forged by diversity. We share a bond unspoken. We are stronger together. We are united by equestrian.
Well, a very good morning and welcome back to Haras du Pin, the second day of competition for the FEI Eventing European Championships. This majestic setting has brought a single day already of top-class dressage, and a second day is due to get underway any moment now in this fabulous facility that was completed in time for these European Championships. And what a stage has been set for this year's majestic finals. Well, competition due to get underway very shortly on day 2 of dressage here in France. And we'll take you through how it shaped up on day 1 in just a moment. And of course, this then leads then into that cross-country day tomorrow and jumping on to Sunday. But today, conditions a little overcast today, not quite the perfect blue skies that we had yesterday, and 19 degrees. And in terms of the winds, well, just around 10 kilometres, not quite blowing the plants as it was yesterday, just a little ripple through those yesterday, looking very still today of an overcast day. But it was a terrific hot day of competition yesterday, and we're going to take a look at how it played out on day 1 here in Haras du Pin.
Lead the way on the opening day of the FEI Eventing European Championships in Haras du Pin. Yasmin Ingham and Kitty King sit first and third in the individual rankings, taking the team out in front midway through the dressage phase. Germany sit in second position both team and individually. Christoph Wahler best in the team so far, with individual rider Jerome Rubenet and Black Ice close behind Ingham and Banzai de Loire. But it's the Netherlands that's currently keeping the host nation France at bay and out of the medal positions. It's early days as the dressage phase continues, but it's looking like a thriller in Haras du Pin.
Yes, a lot to shape up of competition yet, and we saw the pictures of Yasmin's supporters. They've come from far and wide, waving their British flags in support of her, but there were several others that impacted on the top of that leaderboard yesterday. What's it look like over the next few days? Well, today we're into day 2 of dressage. Tomorrow, as I say, it is going to be midday local time cross-country, and then show jumping is the first session at 11:30 on Sunday as well. So that's what we're expecting over the next few days to play out for the conclusion of this championship. As you can see, clouds a little more gathered overhead this time, and these are the teams that are competing here: Ireland, Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, Italy, Switzerland, Sweden, home nation, of course, of France, Great Britain, and Austria. Austria with the 3 riders onto their team. And we've got a little bit of shape for the teams so far, with 2 riders gone for several, but today is when it really takes shape towards that cross-country run. Here are the teams. The team scores already put on the board. Sarah Ennis started us off yesterday on 38.8 for Ireland, was followed up by Flick Ward and Regal Bounty. Susie Berry and Joe Murphy still to come as part of today's competition for the Irish squad. And then on to Belgium with 2 completed, and the best of their group with Lara de Leidekerke-Meyer there on 31.9, and the experienced Karen Donkers to complete their lineup for Belgium later on today. And then moving on to the next of the teams for Germany, of course, a big contender here. And 2 world champions to come yet for Germany, with Sandra Alfarth, of course, winner here in 2014. And the pretty unstoppable Mickey Young to come after that. Annie Heffernan got Team Netherlands off to a terrific start. And the Orange was flying high with a score of 29 from their first rider and team manager, with Andy and Jenica Bunsaya following it up with a 32.5. For Italy, well, they will start off this morning with an individual rider, but they've got scores both in the 30s so far, close on at 30.6 and 30.9 for Evelina Bortoli. Then moving on to the team for Switzerland. And for them, still with Nadia Minder and the experienced Felix Vogt to come for the squad. Robin Godel starting them off yesterday with a score of 33, a little higher for Melody Jonna on 36.7. From there to Sweden, medalists at the last two European Championships as well. Frida Andersson on 33.3, and again staying close with Sofia Sjöberg on 34.2, and their anchor Sarah Algotsson to come later into today's competition. And the French getting a good start as well, looking to go well on home ground, and they're now today going to turn to Nicolas Touzon, of course twice European champion, and Gaspard Marxoud for the squad with Zaragoza. But a good start, both around the early 30 mark with 30.5 from Karim Lacroix. And then Great Britain, two scores in the 20s for the defending champions. Kitty King was their earliest contender on 27.2. Then Yasmin Ingham, the world champion, coming into the score of 23.4. Still with Olympic gold medalist Laura Collett to come, and world champion from 2018, Ros Kanter. And finally for Austria, their three counting scores here, starting with Daniel Dunst on 37.1. Katrin Hodem-Hazrati and Leah Siegel still to come for the team for Austria. So that's how it looks team-wise of those completed and those yet to come over today's few hours of competition. It'll take us through the morning and the afternoon. Here's what it looks like individually, as we heard a little from that package too, with Yasmin Ingham at the top with Banzai Leloir, the world champions, on 23.4, and a terrific performance yesterday from Germany as well. Their individual rider on 26 there in second place, but Christoph Wahler the best for the team in fourth place at the moment, and Kitty King there with Vendry Biatz for Great Britain with two in the top three. And then back to Sweden with Lina Forsberg on 29.5, keeping them under 30. Those that touch over the 30 mark include the individual combination of Jori Wilken and Wilbert Bo for the Netherlands on 32.9. And then Frida Andersson for Sweden with Boxley on 33.3 for their two-team riders coming into play there for Sweden. And then down to the team riders for Ireland there with Felicity Ward and Sarah Ennis with Grantstown Jackson on 37.9 and 38.8. But that is just half of the story. The second half of the story is to be completed today, and that is only the first phase of this FEI Eventing European Championship. So a lot to look forward to. This is going to be the lineup this morning. We're kicking off with Italy. In fact, we're starting with four individual combinations, including Tom McEwen and JL Dublin, riding the horse that was ridden to that top spot at the last European Championships with Nicola Wilson. And then we get into the team riders again partway through this first session. And that will be really interesting with Sandra Aufarth and Vermont de Mads for Germany. Of course, Germany world champions right now, lifting that title in Protoni last year as well. So that's going to be our morning session, and a packed afternoon session too that will put the real shape onto the team list as well. Our judges into position as well. And Seppo Lane there of Finland is going to be our judge at M for competition throughout, and also joined by our grand jury, and that includes the judge at C there. Judy Hancock is going to be our president of the jury at C, and completing that lineup there for our three judges in their various positions around the arena for dressage, of course overseeing the whole of the competitions here as well. They're joined by Katrin Eichinger-Keneally of Austria, who will be presiding at E here throughout the day as well. So our three judges in position and ready to resume competition this morning, and our first about to make their way up as well with our local time of 10 o'clock kickoff start. Delighted to say alongside me is going to be a lady that knows all about this, because she has been multiple gold medals, twice European champion, 5 European golds as well to her name as well, is Lucinda Green, who's going to be alongside me for competition. Over the weekend, Lucinda, interesting day yesterday, ready to kick off today as well. And we are looking at our first already that's coming up. And it's going to be Italy to start us off this morning, and with an individual combination with Federico Sacchetti and GRC Shiraz. Irish bred horse, actually, by Arkansas, and actually a mare that goes back to Flagmount Diamond for our first out. And first championships for this 24-year-old on the 10-year-old horse. Finished top 10 in Poland, and a bit earlier on this year with a score just over completing of 52. And a little excited to start off. Lucinda, very good morning.
Good morning, and very wonderful to be here after, I have to say, a really good day yesterday. Not being the one who most adores dressage, I really did enjoy what we saw yesterday, and a lot of it was because I felt the riding and the training has improved so much, and I felt just the same at Protoni last year. It's the first time I had really felt that there's been a big move forwards, and there's, in a way, almost less pressure and better forward riding.
So let's head through. We're into 4-star test B, for those that are keen to follow along at home as well. And we go through the salutes. We'll get those scores as we go through there. 6.5 from judge at E, judge at C, 6 judge at M, 6 as well. Then we're track left and shoulder in left. You'll take us through it.
Yes, this is a super design test, the start, to come out of that halt and up into shoulder in, up the long side, and then a half circle and half pass. That really the corner sets you up for the shoulder in, the half circle sets you up for the half pass. And then you have a little bit of a shock, because now you have to stop and rein back, which is early enough, but you've got to start somewhere. And 5 steps back and straight off into trot. It's difficult for a horse to work out how to go back and then into trot forward. It's bad enough going back into walk. And sometimes they have to go from rein back into canter. But this now is a mirror of the test at the beginning. So shoulder in the other rein, half circle, half pass back. Half pass is that diagonal sideways. Full pass well. We haven't seen that in the test yet, but I guess it's directly sideways. And just right in front of the chief of the grand jury, Julie Hancock, they come to a walk, so really right under the eagle eye of the judges there, 2 of them on that short side and 1 on the long side opposite E or B. The medium walk gives way to the diagonal and extended walk, which you'll need to see the horse stretch out his frame, and this particular angle isn't quite so easy to see that, but the judges will be able to. Just a little jog there. But this is amazing, because when this horse came in, he was just a little bit fired. He looks very fit, ready to run his 4 miles plus cross country tomorrow. It's a big ask of fit horses to come in and settle down and just wander across the arena in extended walk. Lovely change. Ten-year-old horse. Sounds old, but it isn't old in relative speaking. The amount of different skills these horses learn, and it takes time. Extended canter nicely back to working.
Extended canter takes them up to 7.5, so their best marks so far. Fell back on that flying change, unfortunately, a little bit earlier on.
Just a little bit of a discussion about whether he really wanted to go sideways that way, but well handled.
Scoring in the flying change this time up to 6 and 6.5.
And just a modest extended trot, but that's all right. It's not a horse that has that flashy movement. You ask for what you can achieve within the horse's capabilities. Very straight and very, very good square holes. Oops. Well done.
So final movement there of the 19 on the test. Just around 4-minute test for this 4-star dressage test B. And then we'll bring you the scores from our judges. As a reminder, this is an individual combination. We're going to see 4 individual combinations this morning before heading back into the team riders. It's a good opportunity for the 24-year-old here to be heading as part of the Italian squad for the European Championships. Again, a pretty relaxed header. Oh, what's that noise? Yes, it's the crowd. Don't worry about it. Yep, got it. It's my fans. It's fine. It's nice to see so many out yesterday supporting. Here we go with the scoring. Judge at E, it's 60. Judge at C, 60.71. Judge at M, 60.48. And a percentage score averages out at 60.4. So 39.6 as a penalty score there for our first combination of the morning. Federico Sacchetti and GRC Shiraz as the first out. So we're going to see individual combinations coming for Ireland, Great Britain, and for France. Then very swiftly back into Ireland as well, with Susie Berry and Clever Trick taking us into our team riders. Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, and Italy into this first session. Several of those teams here with the 4 riders plus 2 individuals as well, and so gives a terrific opportunity for some of those to get some championship experience or to take their own way, as we saw yesterday with Jerome Rubin for Germany, and be up into second individually there as well with Black Ice when they're coming out of a very strong nation like Germany. So going to be a fascinating day of competition. Here a new facility in Haras du Pin for those that have been here before. This newly completed equestrian centre too, that is just over the road from the main park, of which of course the competitions have taken place here over many years, but over 24 million euros, in fact, has been invested here with wonderful support regionally and right up to President Macron to bring this new facility here and to promote equestrian sport, which is, of course, what this has been all about over the years as well. And, of course, this is the oldest of the French national studs as well. We'll take you through some of the history as we go through the day. Little snippets to come for that. But we go on to Jennifer Kuhner, Jenny with Polly Blue Eyes for Ireland, and owned by Hans Kuhner. And Jenny, 21 years of age, on a 15-year-old here, and part of the Nations Cup, making a debut at Mill Street this season. Finished well in Le Moulin too as well, completing there for a top 20 finish, and also competing in Buccolo for top 30 in the 4-star long previously as well. So another with the individual run for the week. Little bit of that, little bit of less pressure in terms of not being part of the team, but one also to then try and extend under that young rider into the lineup here from this equestrian family from Ireland. Last young rider medalist, silver medalist in fact, for the team. Going back to children on horses as well, individual gold there, but very much now into the senior ranks and making that step through.
Wonderful experience to have done children on horses show jumping and done so well in it too. It's a good initiative, that.
It's been nice. It'd be nice to see a few of the young riders through. We had one yesterday with the same horse Kaizen that came through European Championships together in terms of young riders, and now same horse through to senior.
And that was eventing rather than
exactly
show jumping,
with Lena Forsberg. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit more normal. I'm just interested that she was doing children on horses show jumping and won that. And that's a tremendous skill to have under your belt, because show jumping is becoming ever more important. I think anybody that saw the World Championship Protoni show jumping course last year will see that could easily be the way things are going to go. It was a very much the most difficult show jumping course I've ever seen in eventing. So, Polly Blue Eyes. Another mare. We've probably got 1/3 mares in this competition. Not an extravagant mover, but a nice regular pace in the shoulder in. Hard to see the angle. You're meant to describe a little bit of a literally shoulder in up that long side, and then round the turn and back in. A sideways movement of half pass, which is all maintaining a lovely rhythm. A nice evenness, and to the halt, which is quite difficult to warn them so that they don't suddenly sit down like an express train having its brakes put on, but that wasn't too bad, and a nice rein back. The thing is, if you do warn them, and we've seen this happening yesterday, then they stop too early, and because it's on the centre line, the judges can see very clearly if your horse has responded too soon. So it's quite difficult to prepare them for a halt, but not to ask for the halt until the time you need it. Nicely sideways the other way. Not an overbend, but absolutely satisfactory for this horse, I feel. Nice pair of hands. The end of those reins for Jennifer Kunle. Nudging her along. Sometimes they just would rather just be a bit idle in walk, and sometimes they go the other way and start fizzing and dropping marks even more so if they fizz. I think breaking in walk is a bigger sin than being a little bit lazy. But she's stretching out really nicely now. That's a great view of the extended walk, the sideways view. And she's stretched her nose out and her neck and her legs, so that's perfect. But now back together again into that more collected walk to prepare for the strike off opposite A. People ask what these letters around the arena represent, because they're certainly not alphabetical, and you have to remember them by all sorts of different, nice change, all sorts of different rhymes to try and remember where each one is. And there's a history to them that I haven't understood why. Have you ever heard why?
Well, basically goes back to military training, but yes, I could.
That's as far as I've got to.
Yeah, I can go on about it for a while, but yes, there's still a few.
Have you a
few
reason?
grey areas? A few grey areas. But yes, it's. I mean, obviously, out of the roots of the military base of training horses, and then obviously went into eventing after that. But
I'm interested. This is looking very nice.
This
and
is
lovely
good.
Level. Let's see this change. Possibly it was a fraction late, but it looked true. See what they give it. A little bit less sideways than possibly she'd like. And then just preparing for that wind down to trot and then wind up to extended trot, which is about what would be expected from having watched the ordinary trot. There's just not a lot of scope in this one's stride, but I don't think that's necessarily a reason to not feel she's going to do a really good job on the jumping side of things. A lot of horses that move a little bit economically are much faster across country because they don't have that long stride. You can go into a fence much quicker, and they don't come in wrong because their stride is so much shorter than some others. So there's plenty of good, even though it might not help in the dressage.
Well, 21-year-old Jenny Kuhnle there, and Polly Blue Eyes completing their test for their first major senior championship appearance. As we said, they've come through children on horses in terms of jumping, and then into the eventing Young Rider Europeans as well. There we go. Judge at E, 66.67. Judge at C, 67.38. Judge at M, 67.62. And a percentage score of 67.22. 32.8 into 14th individually for Jennifer Kuhnle and Polly Blue Eyes. Good start.
Wow. I would think she'll be absolutely delighted with that score. I have to admit to a little bit of surprise, because I felt that our previous horse, Shiraz, was quite firmly marked at 39.6, and I thought, well, that's good, because the judges were firm and tough yesterday, and they need to be the same, consistently the same today. It was a lovely test, but it didn't exaggerate any powerful movement, because that isn't the way this horse is. She's a really lovely horse. And it was very correct, and I guess that's why she's scored herself the 32. Look at that halt.
Very nicely done, well executed.
It's a very difficult test actually to mark down when you pick it apart like this, just because there isn't a naturally flashy trot. It's lovely to see that the marks will still be given to a horse that isn't naturally flashy, and that I really admire.
Based on execution of achieving the movement.
Exactly, very good execution, lovely relaxation. Not always quite so easy to bend on that half pass coming the other way. And very well ridden. Well done, Jennifer.
Yeah, very nicely done. So I say she goes into 14th place at the moment, and so we'll go on to our next in just a moment or two, which will be an individual combination for Great Britain. Tom McEwen and J.L. Dublin. Britain with their remaining team riders to come, as the teams with their third and fourth riders to feature today. Around that 4-minute test with a 9-minute slot. The camera's out, of course, for Tom. That fantastic result that he had in Tokyo with the individual silver and team gold. And now taking up the ride of J.L. Dublin, the horse that was ridden by Nicola Wilson to that European Championship win in 2021. And now Tom taking up the ride. Nicola, top class trainer. And she'll be watching this with interest, I'm sure. And with the ownership, once again, of the Lamberts and Deirdre Johnston. And by Diorado. It's been a partnership that's been coming together, went very well in Lexington earlier on this year, out in America, finished second there, and actually won 27.8 there, the dressage at 22.6, and second in Buccalo as well, in the 20s there too. And building up this nice partnership with the 12-year-old J.L. Dublin. And again, the strength in the British squad. Tom coming here individually. So had a good run in America to kick off the season. Delighted with that. And now to build on that here at the Europeans. And again, the British squad expanding, and again, going to have their eyes very much on Paris next year as well, and how they're going to put that squad together. Like Germany and a couple of nations suffused with talent, which is a nice problem to have.
Yes, the horse and rider combination can be runners up at the Kentucky 5-star. And be cast as individuals rather than in the team here rather tells the story. But there's very often subtle reasons behind putting certain horses and riders that have had a very good track record as individuals. There's a game plan that's often not obvious to the bystander.
And you look at those that have gone on. A second in Lexington the year before, of course, was Yasmin Ingham, that then went on to the World Championship.
Very good point. As an individual.
Yes.
She when we all went to Protoni, she was representing Britain as an individual and went on to win the individual. So who knows, Tom and Dublin may follow suit from their individual stance.
Current world number 2.
Double bridle, not always the easiest horse to hold, as he's got stronger and more understanding the idea of cross country. Tom riding in a very active trot, showing off Dublin's best paces. Very good horse. When you show that immobility, there's no set time. Lovely open, generous striding. And Good bend round that inside right leg of Tom's, as the left leg asks the body to go sideways across. And they've got really good, these riders, at this transition in front of the judges down from trot to walk. Another lovely one. The same test isn't used in every championships. There's a variety that can be chosen from. And in the Olympic Games, it's the next level up, the 5-star, which is the hardest level of dressage for eventing. This is the second hardest level. Lovely stretch out there. Great lengthening of the stride for extended walk.
We got regular 8s throughout the scoring, 7.5.
That should get some very good marks. And that's a properly bent half pass with the whole body keeping in line. 7.09 for one.
Yes.
From the judge in the middle. And off he goes. Maybe not as much lengthening of the frame as some, but a lovely extended canter nonetheless. Didn't even notice that change, it was so smooth. Given up saying anything about that half pass because I think the angle we see it at is just hard to tell.
It's up a 9 in the flying change, but balanced out with a across the centre.
Very elegant extension. Too. Some healthy marks.
Some very healthy marks, looking good. Yasmin Ingham with the best score at 23.4. It might be close between those two.
Yes, the collective marks, it was standing at 23, just 0.4 in front of Yasmin, but the collective marks make the difference.
An emotional Deirdre Johnson, owner as well, watching. And it's a terrific testament as well to Nicola Wilson's production of this horse that we saw so superbly at the last European Championships as well. And now Tom taking them on superbly. So, where will that score finish? It could be very good. It is very good, 22.1, and new individual leader with Tom McEwen and JL Dublin, judge at E, 77.86, judge at C, 79.52, and at M, 76.19, averages out at 77.86. And Tom McEwen and JL Dublin continue a fantastic partnership that has developed this year. And as you say, there's going to be a lot of discussion and planning about next year as well, but let's deal with the moment right now, and that is your new leader individually. And Great Britain with the top 2 now, in fact with 3 of the top 4, but a lot of today to develop yet. 22.1, new leading score from Tom McEwen, Yasmin Ingham in second at 23.4. Spectators of all types enjoying that. A little look back at some of the test here at a steadier pace.
I think this is the introduction of the double bridle has been a really useful thing for this horse. He really accepts it well. A lot of horses actually do like 2 bits in their mouth, and if they're a little bit difficult sometimes in their mouth, you think, oh, well, he can't possibly like 2 bits, but actually a lot of them do. And it looks like Dublin has been very happy to accept the double bridle. Ian Woodhead being a great helper of Tom's on the dressage side for a long time. Chris Bartle, the team trainer, just masterminding how things move forwards. And the final mark, the collective mark that we don't see on the screen, is a mark out of 10 for a confident partnership created by adhering to the scales of training. And it's a coefficient of 2, so it's double. And I think that's how he got from the 23 to the 22, because it was a very impressive look. The overall collective mark would have been high. We're not party to that on the screen, but the rider will receive that when he gets his test sheet back and sees all the individual marks.
Well, the British flags to be tucked away. The French flags coming on out now as well for our next. Another individual combination with Greg Lecouz of France and Esprit de la Loge. Just about to head up, but it's going to be a very interesting day. France with their eyes on a podium finish here as well. They want to really be firing on all thrusters come Paris 2024, and if they can be getting a little bit of metal wear out of these championships as well, that would be another good move in that direction. Like Ros Cantor coming up from the warm-up there, having watched teammate Tom McEwen in action. So a reminder, in fact, the top 5 are made up of Great Britain and of Germany, both with a mix of team and individual in there so far. Cameras out for Lecouz making his way up. He was 13th at badminton. Dressage there, 29.7. Unfortunately, was eliminated cross-country in Aachen.
Yes, it's interesting that a run out uncorrected, and it's sometimes quite hard to know if you've got on the correct side of one of the flags that you have to stay between on the cross-country course. And if you haven't quite got it right, but you think you have, and you continue with the course, then they're forced to eliminate you for basically omitting offence.
Going to be really interesting to see, because this is another combination with consistent dressage in the 20s as well. One here in France last year as well, with the final score of 28.6. And the dressage was just 28.2. With this 13-year-old rider who's also trained in the UK through his career as well, from William Fox-Pitt to Sam Griffiths and Chris Burton, that have influenced this Frenchman's career and development. And now with the 13-year-old Esprit de la Loge for France.
Another one that's pushing on. It's quite fast. Can't tell from here whether that angle of shoulder in is sufficient, but he's certainly flying along, and so far so good. He's handling it, he's not getting unbalanced. A little bit of a power halt. I get the feeling this horse could drop down low in front if he wasn't powering along. A bit of a shoulder in showed there. You wonder how this would work if he was on grass at Badminton or Burghley, because I think he'd be slipping around the corners. You can be much braver and ride much more forwards on a surface, because they can stumble like that, God speak of the devil, but they very rarely can slip. Lovely walk. Let's see how that can extend, because it's already fairly open in the medium walk. But yes, good job letting go of the front end, and the whole horse is stretching out. He wouldn't be the easiest shape of horse to train, and I think CH has done a very good job on getting him to come up, because he's a little bit smaller in the front of the saddle than he is at the back. So there's a lot of power coming through from behind, which can put them onto their nose. It'll be interesting to see this one across country. Feeling he's quite a difficult horse to ride and to keep straight. He looks like he might feel a little bit like an eel slipping between your legs. Very supple, athletic horse, but I wouldn't think easy to keep in the security.
There's a 9 in there for the extended canter. Score now below the 30 mark.
An exaggerated way of putting his front legs to the ground. Wonderful for jumping, because the harder you hit the ground with the front legs, the bigger spring you have. And a very nice expected extended trot, but to my eye just that fraction hurried. Super.
Yep, could be another very good test for the individuals that are really adding some fire to the early session this morning. And they look towards the scoreboard.
Christoph Hess,
yes.
the German judge and trainers, no doubt had a lot to do with this French team's good dressage showing, because there he is on the right, because he keeps turning up on the kiss and cry stand, so I reckon he's probably their trainer for the dressage, and no better you could get. A wonderful judge and trainer, has been over and helped in many different countries. He doesn't just stick to one country, his own Germany.
Let's look at the score. Yep, it is in the 20s, as we mentioned, might be the case. 28.8. Judge at E, 71.43. Judge at C, 70. Judge at M, 72.14. Averages out at 71.19. So going into 6th place for a 28.8 score there for Griglicos and Esprit de Loge for France. So these early individual runners having an impact on the scoreboard this morning, including, of course, with Tom McEwen at the top of it. But they're France just making a move into 6th place as well. So good mix of team and individual amongst our top 10 now. And we'll be moving back into those team riders with our next, which will be for Ireland.
See, that's what I mean when you watch him walk.
Yeah.
He's just got that slightly thinner neck and not a huge, powerful shoulder. And that's quite a difficult horse to create what he has created for this test. You see how up in front and buoyant and bouncy he is. Very keen to go forwards, or asked to go forwards. He looks like he wants to go forwards, this horse. But I still have that feeling that he's quite a hard horse to keep between your two legs. He'd be quite easily wandering, I think. He's got a little bit of age to him now. 13, and they do without a doubt get stronger as they get older. And 9 is still can be quite a weak horse. Beautiful strike off, little shake of the head there, but comes into the flying change and does a beautiful upward flying change. You feel he's taking off in a little bit of an aeroplane, and that's what you want. You want them sitting on the hind legs, and bounding isn't quite the right word, but just going upwards into their change without jumping. Smoothness is everything. That's a lovely transition back there, although I don't think he got as good a mark for that as he did for the extended.
Settling in for the morning, and certainly with these early sessions getting plenty for their money as well. We'll go into the teams once again, and we've got 5 team riders coming up for you with Ireland, Belgium, Germany, Netherlands and Italy. Let's go back to the Irish with Susie Berry and the Irish bred Clever Trick by financial reward out of Bonnie Dolly for Jane McGivern. And made her championship debut last year. She's actually based in the UK. Competed at the World Championships with a different horse, Monbeg by Design. Individual 27th there for a team 5th, which puts Ireland into that Olympic qualification spot as well. She finished 12th at Bramham. Dressage at 36.3 there, and 8th at Buccolo last year as well. But this pair together since March of last year, and now coming on to the team again. So she's had some good combinations coming together for Susie, and with now the 11-year-old Clever Trick.
Be interesting to see if she's just letting the mare down to stretch a bit before she asks her to come up into the more collected frame that's required for this level of test. Susie brought home medals in junior and young riders for Ireland, based in England now. Yes, another very good entry from what we can see. And have her work cut out, I think, to keep this horse what we call up in front. Just showing a little shoulder in there and a nice working pace. Circle brings you very nicely into the half pass, which is excellent.
Yeah.
Good mark for the shoulder in too.
Consistent 7 so far into the halts.
Like the shoulder in more than they like the half pass. It has to be remembered that they are seeing a different angle than what we are. So what looks good from one angle doesn't necessarily look good from another, and absolutely vice versa. It's dangerous really to say anything.
Well, we've got to say something. The halt was good at 7.5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that was nice. Well done. It's actually, she's doing a really good job at keeping a consistent outline. And the mare is looking softer through her body than I was expecting. So somehow you've got to try and help the horse's frame stay up when they're that little bit built down, and she's doing a really good job, because walk is where they can really fall on their face, metaphorically speaking. And she's letting the rein out again and encouraging the mare to take some really nice steps in extended. She's getting the very best out of this horse, I feel. Get your head up. She's definitely got the mare what they call on the end of the rein. She's not ducking inside it all the time. She's doing super. Just that little bit low there into the transition, and therefore came up. Now let's see the change. Looked pretty good to me. That good to the judges. 4, 5 and 6 the change. Definitely a lovely opening of the line under the neck there, the U shape turning up beautifully, and the pace seemed to extend well. 6, 7, 7.5. and the one in 6 is the one right beside the extended trot, so it's very hard to see, and that definitely wasn't quite true. The hind leg got a little bit, looked like it got a little bit stuck in the mud there for a split second. Just a break there, which is so annoying. Flying chains. Got a 6 from the judge in the middle and 4.5 from the other two. A very nice extended trot, much better than I was expecting. Lovely cadence, lovely suspension, not yet hugely exaggerated, but really a nice job for this mare.
Looking like mid-30s, the destination for the score. Some solid elements just coming back on the scoring for that flying change. And so we'll see how that translates into the overall score for the next to the Irish squad, coming into several of the third riders for the teams now, of course, into day 2, as the team score starts to take shape. It's always nice to recognise faces in the crowd. See if we can move to that next stage of championships.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I know. It's such a relief to have got the dressage out of the way, because it's sort of control the controllables. You feel you have a chance when you've got a fence. But when you've got the judges saying, yes, they don't like that, or yes, they do like that, you don't feel you can control that.
Okay, let's see the score. It's at E61.43, at C65.48, at M67.62, percentage score of 64.84, and that translates to a penalty score of 35.2 for Susie Berry, and clever trick for Ireland.
65.48 at C, 67.62% at M, that's 64.84% average.
A little look back at some of the tests. Lucinda, highlights to take out of this?
It's a lovely mare, and
yeah,
I was well impressed how she was ridden, because I felt that her natural stance might be to go a little bit low, and it'll be very interesting, as I keep saying, to see how she gallops on the cross country. It's so much easier if a horse gallops with his head up, because the balance is naturally much better prepared for the jump. You have to do a lot of work if they gallop with their head down, and just watching this, I thought, goodness, what a good job, because she's trained really well and has really offered a nice, genuine test. I think she might be a little disappointed with the mark, because it ranged much higher in the first half, I think, than it did in the latter one. Tracy Robinson's been a huge help to the Irish and their dressage, and I think the softness of this mare reflects how Tracy trains.
Everybody out there having their own discussions on each of the tests. And so let's see how that goes into the team. And Sarah Ennis with 38.8 is their highest scorer so far. Felicity Ward there on 37.9. And Susie Berry takes the score down with 35.2. Just Joseph Murphy to come with that Camaro for Team Ireland. Just preparing for our next for Belgium, for the next of the team riders, and they're just coming into view. And that will be Jano Verwimp and Mahalia by Elvis Terput. So again, breeding into the jumping breeding. And Jano, another of the younger riders into the squad, 22 years of age. Part of the Belgian Armed Forces as well. World Championships, competing last year in Pretoni for an individual 28th. Teammates there, Europeans in 21 as well. Finished well in Italy earlier on this year. Montelibretti on 26.9. It was a dressage of 25.7. That was in the 4-star short format. and 4-star long, which is the same format as this, in Poland, finishing second there last year as well, and had a dressage of 34.3 for a final score of 40.3 for the next up for the Belgian squad. Past medalist again through the junior and pony ranks. With the 11-year-old Mahalia for Jarno Verwimp as the next up for Belgium.
So interesting how every horse is different, every horse moves differently, and the judge's eye has to accommodate the difference. And just because one horse isn't quite as elegant as another, you can't be too influenced by that. You're trying to see how the horse is trained, how they're delivering the movements, whether there's resistance, whether there's relaxation. And this horse has a nice active basic trot. Hind legs really work without being flashy as. And judges have to, in this particular sport, have to take that into account. That if the training is truly good and the horse just is a plain mover, it shouldn't stop the horse gaining a good mark. Very good example of that in Michael Jung's two top horses of the past era, neither of whom moved particularly brilliantly, but both of whom were so beautifully trained that they scored high enough marks to win world championships, Olympic gold medals and many others. Lovely extended walk coming from this horse. Pretoni last year in the Worlds, so ready to maybe go even better this championship. So a lovely open extended walk. I hope that gets a good mark.
Pretoni being their senior championship debut. Good preparation through juniors and young riders through to 2021, as I say, which is where this we're in the Young Rider Championships. Extended walk getting the consistent sevens.
And a beautiful, you could see it was going to be lovely because you felt there was no preparation needed. He could just simply change his legs and the horse changed his legs. The rider just moves his legs, moves his weight a fraction, and it just looked like it was really going to work, and it did. Nice. The extension coming back. Well marked extension. Another, you just feel he can just sit there, puff out his chest and just think change, and the horse changes, and that's what everybody's looking for, but some horses just do not find a change an easy thing to do. Mahalia definitely finds them easy. I wonder if she always did. A well-maintained extended trot, because that doesn't look like it's her easiest pace. A little bit of a discussion at the end, come back. Just came around that corner ever so slightly. Hind legs first for a stride, but well straightened after that.
Well, decent runs at Chatsworth and at Aachen this season as well. We'll see how their final score comes out in this first stage for the next of the Belgian riders. Young rider coming through, Jarno Verwimp and Mahalia.
There's a loose ring snaffle there compared to the double we saw in Dublin. So many different bits, thousands, I mean thousands, and horses are very individual in their preference, and I swear there's a bit out there for every horse, but finding it sometimes is really difficult.
Because that's what takes time. Let's take the scores from the judges. Judge at E, 69.05. Judge at C, 66.9. Judge at M, 66.43. Percentage that translated to 67.46 and a penalty score of 32.5. So individual 15th position, and going into the team score as well for Belgium. And at the moment puts them on 64.4, but still with Karen Donkers to come for Team Belgium to complete the shape to the squad. Two scores, 32 and 31, just over with both of those as they're counting scores at this point for the Belgian team. And here looking back at some of the slow motions of this developing pair together.
That's a nice description. Developing pair. You feel that there's more to come, and it's on a very good road. This is what I mean, I think, about how much more I enjoyed the dressage at Pretoni and here. There's a certain softness coming through in many of these horses. There used to be a lot more tension. Got in a little bit of a muddle where to put our hind legs there. Won't have got the best mark for that halt, therefore. Come on, let's go. Lovely half pass. Beautiful positioning. Just a little bit popping onto her head on that corner, but I think that will all improve no end as she gets older and stronger. 11 years old, it's not much in the sport that we're in.
More to come.
Yeah.
There's some youngsters as well watching, hopefully. Riders of the future, maybe, getting a little bit of instruction, and somebody just having a general snoozy morning and afternoon, possibly. Oh, to be a dog watch. But the spectators have got lots to watch today, which is great. Some really terrific scores already coming out of this morning's session. And more that will be developing what is going to be for the teams, and we're going to be back to another big team here with Germany and Sandra Alfarth and Viemont de Matz. Germany, of course, the current world champions from Pretoni, and this French-bred ride by Demont de Semy for Sandra, who was the world champion from 2014, of course, with Obgun Louveau on that occasion. That was when the world championships were staged here in Haras du Pin and, of course, across the region. And a pair that individual 11th of the Europeans in 2019, but a terrific record for her. Olympics behind her for a team fourth there. Finished fourth in Lexington this season on 30.4, and last year's Aachen winners as well.
Yes, it's a wonderful pair, this. They haven't always been blessed with good fortune. In Pretoni last year in the World Games, the wind got up and blew a marker away just as he was coming to it. Even though it was on the outside of the arena, it suddenly shot away, and he jumped and ruined that particular movement. Sort of got back going really well, but those sort of things can happen. Cameras can do it to horses, and the lens moves and it's sort of hidden within a bush. There can be outside things at championships that you never get in a national competition that just take away your luck. I think that's really the best way to put it. And when those things don't happen, you do well. They know each other incredibly well, these two. Olympic Games before them. Sandra doing quite a bit of top-level show jumping as well, as are several of the top event riders, which I think is
Yes.
shows us very clearly how much higher the level has become.
She's been riding in derbies this year because she rode in Hamburg and at Hickstead as well.
That takes courage, but then so does the cross country.
Yes, exactly.
You're aware of that lovely cadence when you watch this horse, aren't you? He's always going to have that V under his neck where the neck joins the head. That is just the way he's shaped rather than the way he's trained. Is my feeling anyhow, to be contradicted, no doubt. Everybody has an opinion. That's what I love about jumping. You either jump the flipping fence or you don't. Whereas dressage is opinion orientated.
But you can't get to the jumping phase without being
correct.
good on the flat.
That's correct.
Yeah, which is where this comes from.
And there's plenty to be said for needing a really well-schooled horse to go across country.
Yeah.
But I just sometimes rather hate having the training, which is what dressage is, and that's what it means, as you know.
Yes.
I rather hate having it judged. But that's the sport. It's a triathlon for the horse and rider. Fascinating sport that it is. It requires three very different skills. And they link in. Each one aids the other. Extended walk may not get the highest mark. It's nice enough, but it's not really stretched. I'm not sure that he does a really stretched one. Yeah, 6.5 and 7. Lovely strike off. I would expect the change to be magic. But let's not put the curse on him. Interesting little sort of pogo stick pop, but again, I think that's the way he does it. Every horse has their own way of doing things, and sometimes they don't exactly appeal to what's in the judge's mind as the classical way of doing it. And sometimes they're happy, and sometimes they mark it a little bit down. The legs extend, the head and neck doesn't. But to me, that's the horse.
The extended canter and in the transitions.
Sweet change.
Little
Love
bounce
it.
into the flying
Yeah,
change.
I love it. It's exactly that. It's a little bounce into the change. 5-5-5. They don't like that bounce. That's what I mean about not controlling the controllables. You cannot control what somebody feels, believes, sees. Whereas you can control, you hope, a fence. Good.
Yep.
Lovely.
Good overall test for Sandra Alpert of Germany and Viemont Dumatz. Returning, I'm sure, here with very good memories of that World Championship. 2014, where she lifted the title back into the completion there was over in the stadium, which was a football stadium up in Caen.
Yes, it was a moment of great wonder, and Opgun Luvo was never an easy horse to produce, and Chris Bartle told me at 7 he just never realised that he was going to be a world champion 6 or 7 years later.
Goes into 6th place on 28.6 and 71.43 as percentage score. Judge at E, 72.86. Judge at C, 72.62. And judge at M, 68.81 for Sandra Alpert and Viemont Dumatz for Germany. So team-wise, we'll take them on to 56.9. But still with Mikkel Jung to come for the team yet. as you can see from that graphic. And again, scores coming down for the Germans. Christoph Wahler on 28.3, Sandra Alfarth close to that at 28.6. And Mikkel Jung still to come with that Fisher Chipmunk. Who knows what that star will produce yet later on into today.
Here goes our lovely slow-mo, which is so much fun to pick the detail and enjoy the movements again. See that lovely bend through his body as he comes across in this half pass. All the time there's a conversation going down those reins. The hands are still, but they're never really still. They can't be. There's always movement. Sometimes it's just from the fingers or the elbows. But that is your connection with the horse's brain. Your hands go down through the reins and via the bit, directly linked to the horse's brain. Lovely horse, lovely rider. And watch this wonderful little bounce into the flying change. Just a tiny discussion on that turn there. You could see him tilt his head a little bit.
Few that are good, ready for a good walk cross country later on. Yep, it's coming, don't worry. Oh, don't wake me up. What was all that noise? I'm going to go back to sleep. There we go. Someone's waiting for some scraps to drop down. If I stare at you long enough, you might throw something in this direction. You see the crowds out onto the newsstands here, relaxing on the grass. Plenty of young faces too, which is always great to see, to enjoy the sport, and plenty of canines who are okay. I'm still just here for the walk. Oh, she said something. What am I supposed to follow now? Okay, we'll follow this. Because upcoming is our next for the Netherlands, Sunny Jong and Enjoy, the mare by Cartano, for the next of the Dutch squad. Of course, they had that super start with Andy Heffernan on 29 with Gideon. He's now down into 8th place individually. Enjoy, a 14-year-old. And the rider who competed at the World Championships, completing there last year, was part of the lineup at the Europeans in 2021. Unfortunately had an elimination there cross country, but through the last few months has been flying along, from finishing well in Italy in the short format there in the 4-star, and also top 5 in Stragom in Poland as well. Follows along in a family line of those a part of this sport and others. Father's, of course, designer. Brother played handball for the Netherlands as well. That's many of these riders coming out of families with terrific sporting ability, natural athleticism. So now the next up for the Dutch squads.
Sunny has bred this horse, had it for 14 years, so anything that's good has been her production. Spent actually his 6-year-old year training over in England with their now team trainer Andy Heffernan. I think his first novice was at the Great Chatsworth event, so he's had a little bit of training in different parts of Europe. He's got a very interesting, oh, that's a shame. Just probably trying to ask him a little bit more shoulder in, and he mistook it for a canter strike off. And as a rider, you just have to say, wrong answer, come along, try again. You cannot get tense, you cannot get cross, even though you know the marks have now fallen out the bowl for this particular movement. 19 movements, a possibility of 10 marks per movement. Super halt. But just that little error in the first shoulder in makes you realise that you're riding. When you watch this, you think, oh, they're all such good horses. I wish my horse behaved like this. Well, they only behave like this because they're very, very well trained. And they're still very sensitive. They're still just like the horse that doesn't behave so well at home that you may have. They're very sensitive, and you have to find the way, and it can take many, many years to find the way to their control panel, if you like, their buttons.
And as you said yesterday, it's a conversation.
It certainly
and this has been a long conversation with a homebred horse.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
I think that's something I never achieved, and I so admire those that breed their own horse and take them all the way through to the top level. I don't believe there can be any greater achievement in the horse world. Extended, and you can't, of course, you can't decide what you're going to breed. Whatever pops out, you have to deal with. And this horse has got a lovely walk, but he hasn't got a particularly good extended walk because his shoulders just are not that able to get the stretch. And you can't do anything about that. You train as best you can, and that's the walk he has, and that's the walk he's given. And you get 6.5 and 7 for it. If you get one that falls out of its mother with a wonderful walk, you'll probably get 8s and 9s. Quite together, the hind legs and the front legs. Wonderfully bendy front legs, terrific ability to get his legs up in the air over the jump, you would hope. But apparently his show jumping is a little patchy. Sometimes he has a beautiful run, sometimes he has a few on the floor. Maybe inside his head he's just not as easy as some. It's not just what their body does, it's very much what their brain does and how you as a rider connect with that brain. And some riders will connect beautifully with a horse and others just don't. The chemistry has to be right, just as it does with people partnerships. Very, very well ridden extended trot. This is able to be a very flamboyant horse, but he's also able to lose his balance and make a mistake. And she just sat that quite beautifully and produced, I think, the best she can. 7.5, excellent for the extended trot. Super job. Andy Heffernan, the training rider on the left, riding number 1 for the Dutch team. Been helping Sani for many years in that elegant burnt orange tailcoat. I do love their orange tailcoats. I noticed, I think they first came, I might have got this wrong, but I think I was first aware of them the Olympics before last. But certainly when they came into the arena at Tokyo, it was a burnt orange. It was even darker, deeper orange than this, I believe. Very becoming.
Scores to come in. An early blip in the score, but putting things pretty well back together.
Very well back together, because it's so depressing when it goes wrong at the beginning. It's not a good feeling when it goes wrong at any time, but you have to take a deep breath and say, put it behind you. It was just a mistake. Keep going. Do your best. It's such a mind game, this whole sport. There's so much that negative thinking can destroy and so much that positive thinking can build. And
you as a rider have got to not dwell on that, haven't you? You've got to just move on. Let's take a look at the score, because it comes out at 33.2. Judge at E, 66.67. Judge at C, 67.62. Judge at M, 66.19. Percentage of 66.83. And as I say, 33.2, 21st individually. But the early interruptions on that test put back together pretty well. Sunny de Jong, they're the highest scoring of their group so far, still with Merrill Blom-Hulsman to come for Team Netherlands. Andy Heffernan leading the charge on 29 with Gideon.
Yes, poor Andy, the pressure's on him because he's put himself in as number 1, but being the team trainer and chef d'équipe, and he's sure as anything led from the front, but he has to do that in the cross country too, and here comes his little error. I think we've had the little error, yeah.
Yes.
Got it back beautifully. It was so good, that last half. What a shame that that was just got a little bit of a canter stride earlier. That's a beautiful, wonderful filming of a lovely strike off. It's just wonderful to watch how the legs and the body, everything fluid. And let's see this change now. No.
Yeah.
Just does a wonderfully athletic little bounce with both hind legs on the ground at the same time, just working out how to get the other hind leg through when he changed. And he got it beautifully that time. Sat down on his hind legs, so didn't have quite the smoothest journey through it, but didn't have the two hind legs on the ground together like he had in the first. It's so technical, isn't it? I mean, how does a horse know where he's meant to put his feet? But that's what training's all about, helping him understand what it is that he can do so well naturally in the field.
Well, next out into the field is going to be for Italy, Fosco Girardi and Euphorie, the Holsteiner by Killian, and with Fosco now coming onto the squad for the Italians. And the 26-year-old with the 11-year-old ride. First championship for Fosco, follows on from his father, who actually rode at the Olympics in 88 and 92. Finished second in Monterebreti in the 4-star long there in Italy earlier on this season, well, into last season as well. Preparation and run into the Europeans this year too.
Nice outline this horse has. See if he can keep this through his test.
Nice young rider medalist. Little hello to the judges on the way past. Italy with 2 scores in the top 12, in fact 11th and 12th so far, with Giovanni Ugolotti on 30.6 and Evelina Bottoli on 30.9.
Emblem on his ears matches the hat nearly. A lot of horses will wear ears just to block out a little bit of the extra noise that is always there in a public setting. Keeps the flies out if there are any, but there won't be any of those on a day like this. Nice rhythmic basic trot, covering quite a bit of ground. Lots of interesting, because as soon as he went back, the rider leant forward, and that's usually a sign that the horses don't like going backwards, because the rider tries to lift their weight off the back, and he got one stride, reared, and the rider very wisely said, let's just keep going. Fosco did.
Hence the 2s and the 1s.
Yeah, because it was really a non-executed movement, one stride out of 5. Wise decision, and sometimes horses just suddenly start to refuse to go backwards. Can just be the day before, the day of the competition, and you just need to leave it and go back to it another day and train when there's no pressure. Lovely walk. Real got a spring in his stride. Sevens for the medium. Looking around him a little bit in the extended, not totally concentrating on stretching down, which might just hold up that mark a tiny bit as he brings him back together. 6 and 6 for the extended. It's nearly, I think that extended walk has quite a potential. But this is what I mean about horses being sensitive people. They don't know where they are. They haven't been in this arena other than a practice yesterday. They're looking. They're up and looking and wanting to know where they are. And you have to be very sensitive how you bring their attention back to you. Nice extended and back to small canter. I think that was very good. Of course, you often find that mares, whilst they can be more sensitive and therefore easier to train, are more sensitive and therefore more difficult in the mind. And it's not by any means always the case, but I think you often feel that mares, you have to ask, you can't tell. That's lovely extended sort. Looking where he's going. Getting a good turn up the centre line. Lovely straight. Little bit leg out at the hawk, but otherwise great.
7 in the transition, 6.5. And, well, the error coming into the rein back, but then, as you say, moved on from that, concentrate on the rest of the marks, get together a good a score as they can from that point of view. And championship first timers there for Fosco Girardi and Euphorie. The 11-year-old mare for Italy.
She's a looker, isn't she? Bless her. She doesn't want to be not seeing where everything is, and I love that. I think that's
inquisitive.
Great. Exactly, yeah. Sort of detective inspector, I call them. Always looking for clues.
Look around, what's going on?
Yeah, I love that attitude, and that will stand both Euphorie and Fosco in very good stead tomorrow. The fact that she's on it and looking, so long as she doesn't overlook and come to a grinding halt.
Stop and have a think.
Yes, stop and have a think.
Well, brings to a close our morning session here from Haras du Pin, and getting set for the afternoon, which will get underway at 2:30. We'll be with you just before that, but we'll give you a little revision and a wrap-up of the scores. And there for Italy, it is judge E 63.81, judge at C 60.71, judge at M 62.62, percentage of 62.38, 37.6 as you can see there from the scoring. They've got two scores in the early 30s as well for Italy, and so with the hugely experienced championship rider Susanna Bordone to be their last out for the Italians. So still potential for them to be big contenders over the weekend here as well. So that will wrap up our morning session. So say we're going to be back. This is how it has changed things around. A busy morning with Tom McEwen having the impact at the top of the leaderboard with JL Dublin at 22 as their confirmed score. Yasmin Ingham and Banzai de Loire on 23.4 in second. And from yesterday, we saw Germany individually going into third on 26. Kitty King from yesterday as well. Christoph Wahler, 28.3. Sandra Alfarth having an impact on today's scoring as well for the German team rider on 28.6. And Greg Lacoste just below that for France, also individually going into 7th place. Those a little further down the scoreboard there. Jenny Kuhnler of Ireland, 32.7 this morning. Remains in our top 20 so far. And Sana de Jong and Enjoy for the Netherlands, part of the team ride on 33.9 as part of this morning's session. 24th position, and now into the realms of more complete tests than those to go. We are really starting to build the leaderboard through, with the 2 sessions to come this afternoon for the final shape on this first phase of competition of these FEI Eventing European Championships here in France. So that's what it looks like after this morning's graceful performances. And as I say, we're going to be back later on today and it is going to be at 2:30 this afternoon for that session. This is what it's going to look like. It includes the French past European champion Nicolas Touzon, Laura Collett, and London 52, the Olympic gold medalists, world top 20 go into that next session. And then a few of those individuals, including Great Britain's Tom Jackson there. And that is going to be what's coming up. We'll look forward to seeing you then. We take a breather. We're going to be back just before 2:30 this afternoon, local time, to complete our final two sessions of dressage here from France.
La créativité et la simplicité de création sont fournisseurs officiels des équipes de France d'équipe de 2023-2024. Donc retrouvez un cours dans l'identité tout au long du championnat d'Europe. Vous avez donc une idée de Savoyard, vous pouvez